Hey you guys, it's TsubakiSwagg, and I am coming to you with a review of Magi, the Labyrinth of Magic. Well, that's the name of the manga, but I believe it's the Kingdom of Magic for the actual anime. Review of episode, I want to say 14. If I'm wrong, it'll be in this general area. But anyways, the name of this one is Titus Alexis. And pretty much this one picks up where the last one left off at, of course, where Hakuryu was confronted by Judar after he was pretty much taken down by his own mother with the evil red eyes. Oh my god, her eyes creeped me out to no end. Like, if I saw somebody with eyes like that looking at me, I'd probably pee my pants. With just that as a side note. Anyways, so they show Hakuryu being confronted by Judar and pretty much telling him that he has a way for him to gain power. And then also they show, of course, they show Aladdin at the academy, and he's pretty much been promoted to top student of his class, and he jumped from 6th Kodor to 1st Kodor with his first magical exam, which is amazing considering that when he first got there he was automatically put in the 6th Kodor, and then as soon as he did his exam he jumped all the way to 1st, which surpassed everybody else in his class. But anyways, so they pick up and they're having a party or whatever because they finally finished their classes, and of course Aladdin and his roommate Sphinxus got promoted to 1st Kodor, and everybody else, there were only 20 people out of 123 people that started in his class that were promoted to 2nd Kodor and below, and everybody who was in 2nd Kodor and below have to retake the year. But the people who were in 1st Kodor, which is only Aladdin and Sphinxus from their class, will be able to go into 2nd year of learning. So everybody was congratulating them. Of course they were congratulating Aladdin more than they were congratulating Sphinxus, because Sphinxus pretty much just barely made it to 1st Kodor. But then after that they went to the meeting where they were going to find out who was the top student in the school. And everybody's like, oh, Aladdin's going to get it, blah, 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 because Aladdin is so amazing. And then when it's announced, this random person, Titus Alexis, was granted the top student, like, seat. So everybody was freaking out, and Sphinxus, of course, had to speak out and was like, Aladdin should have been top student, blah, 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 and everybody started agreeing with him. But when the person who announced it said that even though Aladdin made phenomenal improvements from when he first got there to when they did the exam, Titus Alexis still surpassed him in his abilities. So of course Titus Alexis walked towards the front because he was summoned up there, and as he walked past Aladdin, just a whole bunch of Riku just started, like, he just saw all these Rikus like swarming around him, and Aladdin said that he felt like there was something different about Titus that he couldn't necessarily put his finger on right that moment. So after the meeting and everything, they're walking back to their rooms, and Sphinxus is like, well, since this is the beginning of a new semester, we're going to be switching rooms, right? And it would be great if we were roommates. And Aladdin was like, I don't know about that, pretty much. And Sphinxus, of course, freaked out. And then, like, while they were walking, Aladdin bumped into one of his classmates, and his classmates pointed out that 2 of Titus's cronies were pretty much manhandling these 2 girls because they got a room that they wanted Titus to have, because apparently that was the biggest and the most decent room in the whole academy. So Titus Alexis was supposed to have it because he was the top student. But anyway, they were manhandling them and everything, and then Titus noticed Aladdin, so he, like, pretty much bumped Sphinxus out of the way and was trying to talk to Aladdin, and Sphinxus in his head was like, don't shake hands with this man, because Titus was like, I want us to be friends, and he put his hand out. Like, he pretty much said that they're going to be friends regardless of whether Aladdin wanted to be or not. And he put his hand out, and the Sphinx is like, no, don't shake this man's hand. You're not really going to shake his hand, are you? Like, he's thinking it in his head. And Aladdin, instead of shaking his hand, of course, reached up and tried to see if Titus had boobs. Because Titus does very much so look like a girl. And he was like, oh, so you don't have any of those, but because of your high voice and your big butt, I thought you were a girl, but perhaps you're a boy. And Titus looked like he wanted to take Aladdin's head off. But it's understandable because Titus does look like a girl. So Titus was pretty much like, you embarrassed me in front of all these people, and I'm going to kill you, pretty much. Which I don't blame him, because he pretty much just tried his manhood, because he tried to see it. Aladdin tried to see if he had boobs, because he looked very feminine, and he does kind of walk like a girl, and he looks very girly. But anyways, so Titus was about to fight Aladdin, and Aladdin was about to defend himself when the Chancellor, whom I can never pronounce his name correctly, so it'll be like in this, I'll pop it up in this general area, he walked up, like he was watching him and Titus talking, and they were like, he was like, they were such good boys. And his subordinate was like, so this means that we're gonna put them, like, make them fight to kill each other, right? And pretty much that led to the Chancellor walking downstairs and coming up and asking what was going on. And everybody noticed that he was coming towards him, and everybody bowed except for Aladdin, because Aladdin didn't know that he was the person who created the academy and is pretty much the ruler over the whole country. So the Chancellor walked up to Aladdin, and Aladdin like freaked out a little bit, and he was like, you're Aladdin, right? And Aladdin said yes. And then the Chancellor, like, Aladdin had flashbacks of pretty much like talking to Sinbad and talking to Yam and everything about this man who was creating all these black djinn weapons and metal vessels, and was trying to kill all these people and create all this darkness in the world. And then the Chancellor just put his hand on top of Aladdin's head, and he was like, if I had a grandson, he'd probably be about your age. And then he walked away, and Aladdin was like, wow, he just seems like a regular old man to me. So then after that, they told Aladdin and Titus that they were going to have to do a battle exam. And they both looked at each other like, battle exam. And then it cuts to them being in the courtyard. And they tell them the rules, that they can't leave until the battle is stopped. So they have to fight each other pretty much to the death. And they start fighting, start going at each other. And of course, noticeably, Titus has way more magical experience than Aladdin does, but Aladdin has more martial art. For what he lacks in magic, he makes up with his martial art skills and the fact that he has been in battles before. So he understands battles better than Titus does, but Titus's magical skill way surpasses Aladdin's. So they're pretty much matched in that way because their differences balance each other out. And of course, Titus is a completely different, he's the polar opposite of Aladdin, so every magical manipulation that he does, Titus can counteract it, which will pretty much balance each other out and won't do any damage towards either or. But Aladdin learned a new, magical manipulation where he can put gravity in the sand and pretty much make a sand ugo. And he used this to try to fight Titus, and Titus, of course, balanced it out, and it didn't really do anything to him. And then Aladdin also learned another one where he could make sound vibrate off of his staff. Even though it's not in a big area, he can use it to pretty much disintegrate anything that it touches. So he used this on Titus's Borg, and it broke the Borg. And when they tried to come towards each other, they ripped, Aladdin ripped Titus's sleeve, and Titus ripped one of Aladdin's bandages on his arms, and they both saw that they had the magical items in their forearms, and they freaked out. So after that, their battle kind of diminished a little bit because they were more concerned about why the other one had the same thing in their arm. And then the Chancellor came and stopped the fight, and he said that it was going to end in a draw, and he was going to give recommendations for both of them because both of them have such great power, but they're so different. So, in this, Aladdin was going to shake Titus's hand and tell him that that was a really good fight and that he wanted to learn more about him. And Titus put out his hand and shook his hand, and then he pulled out his staff and was about to pretty much kill Aladdin. And the Chancellor saw this and deflected it, but Aladdin got hit anyways, and he was knocked out, and he wasn't coherent anymore. And Titus got put in solitary while Aladdin was resting until, well, he was being nursed back to health. And while Aladdin was resting, he pretty much saw King Solomon's world again, where, like, he saw how the black Riku pretty much took all life out of the world, and that's how King Solomon's world ended. And that's why, pretty much why Aladdin is in this world now, so he can stop that. But that was, and then after that they show Titus talking to his Magi, whom I'll put her name right here because I can't pronounce her name either. But they showed him talking to her and pretty much telling him that he needs to make sure that he stays on his mission. So that was pretty much the end of the episode. Was like Aladdin writing a letter to Morgiana and Alibaba and everybody else, telling them about all the things that he's learning and that he's not done yet in this city. But that was pretty much the end of the episode, and it's getting pretty good. If for those of you who don't read the manga, I won't give any spoilers. I can't say what I think is going to happen in the next episode because I already know. But I would love to hear what y'all think is going to happen. But anyways, I'm going to have to cut this one a little bit short because I'm running long. But as always, please remember to comment, rate, and subscribe. And this is TsubakiSwagg saying adios.